Hello and welcome to Turning Towards Life. This is Lizzie and Justin. We're here again, and we have a source this week in the theme that we currently are holding in our Turning Towards Life live gatherings of healthy power. So we've had this theme of healthy power for this second season of Turning Towards Life Live, and this source, Justin, speaks directly into the topic. And I think we've said this before, but it's very difficult to find brilliant sources like this about power in the world. I'm maybe asking the world to write some more stuff, maybe asking us to write some more stuff about what healthy power really means. And Robert Mesley, I don't know how to pronounce his name, in this beautiful book, Process Relational Philosophy, talks about power in the most extraordinary way. It's only a little book as well. So if anybody feels like reading it, it's really wonderful. And it's little. It's dense, but it's little. And I love this source, Justin. So thank you for choosing it. And just to say as well, if you want to read along whilst you're listening to us or before you listen to us, you can find the source in the show notes or on our website, which is turningtowards.life. And you can also receive it into your inbox by signing up to our weekly email. For every time our podcast, a new episode gets released, you can receive it into your email. And we'd encourage you to go there and listen to the other episodes if maybe you're new to Turning Towards Life. And maybe if you're not new to Turning Towards Life, you can listen to any episode that you like there as well. So Justin, thank you for choosing this particular source. Thank you for knowing what healthy power is in your own life, which I know deeply that you do. And thank you for being one person in the world that I know I can have this particular conversation with. It really means a lot to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie. I'm really glad to be here doing this with you again, and very pleased to be taking up this source. I want to echo how excellent this book is, Process Relational Philosophy. Like you say, it's dense, but like lots of books, it benefits from a close read, and it's just full of the most extraordinary ideas about life and what life is and how to live in the midst of it. And I also wanted to say that this is the topic that we are in the midst of in our current season of Turning Towards Life Live. And that's an opportunity for me to say that the next season, where we're going to be taking up the question and the topic of love, begins in September. It's only in a couple of months' time. You can join us from the website, turningtowards.life, and we would love to have you. We have a growing group of people. We meet once a month. It's marvelous to be with people. And this will also be on the website and in the show notes, as you've said, Lizzie. So here we are about healthy power. Or I think, as Robert Mesley calls it, relational power. I think he calls it. It is not our power to remain unaffected, or even the power to control others, that makes our lives richer and more valuable. It is our amazing capacity to be affected by the incredible richness and complexity of the relational web in which we live. Relational power includes three components. One, the ability to be actively open and affected by the world around us. Two, the ability to create ourselves out of what we've taken in. And three, the ability to influence those around us by first having been affected by them. Everything actual exercises some power either to affect or be affected, but there is a crucial life-shaping difference between the power to control others and the strength that enables us to be active and open to the world around us. There's an equally vital difference between the power to control others by shutting them out of our lives and the power to engage the lives of others in a way that enrich us all. The world of the individual who can be influenced by another without losing his or her identity or freedom is larger than the world of the individual who fears being influenced. The stature of the individual who can let another exist in his or her own creative freedom is larger than the size of the individual who insists that others must conform to their own purposes and understandings.
Thanks, Justin. It is not our power to remain unaffected or even the power to control others that makes our lives richer and more valuable. It is our amazing capacity to be affected by the incredible richness and complexity of the relational web in which we live. Relational power includes three components. One, the ability to be actively open and affected by the world around us. Two, the ability to create ourselves out of what we have taken in. And three, the ability to influence those around us by first having been affected by them. Everything actual exercises some power, either to affect or be affected. But there's a crucial life-shaping difference between the power to control others and the strength that enables us to be active and open to the world around us. There is an equally vital difference between the power to control others by shutting them out of our lives and the power to engage the lives of others in ways that enrich us all. The world of the individual who can be influenced by another without losing his or her identity or freedom is larger than the world of the individual who fears being influenced. The stature of the individual who can let another exist in his or her own creative freedom is larger than the size of the individual who insists that others must conform to their own purposes and understandings.
My goodness, Lizzie, I just think this is so wonderful. And I'm going to there was a line that I wanted to read again. Oh, yeah. The world of the individual who can be influenced by another without losing his or her identity or freedom is larger than the world of the individual who fears being influenced. So I think that, I mean, obviously there's like a ton of things to say here, but for me, that's really the starting place, which is right now in my life, it seems so clear that all of my efforts, and I have made many efforts, not to be influenced by other people and not to listen to other people because I was frightened about what might happen if I did. And I'll talk about fear in a moment. All of my efforts then to exercise power when I've needed it from there, when I've done that, have been both essentially doomed to failure because if I want to stay in relationship with you, Lizzie, but I won't be affected by you, then my only way of exercising power is to behave as if you're not a person, to behave as if you're a thing, and then to impose myself on you. Or the other way that's been very common, very familiar for me is just to leave. Like I can exercise some power. If I don't like how this is going, I'll just leave. And both of those are exercises of power. One's control and one's like absence and protection. And there have been many occasions where I've done that in my life, including one, I can think of one particular relationship, Lizzie, a working relationship, which ended because the other person said I was immovable. And of course, that was really hard to hear because for somebody to leave because I'm immovable means that I'm most definitely not exercising the kind of relational power here, which is to take in and then to respond in a way that is relational. And I think that now my sense of myself is that I am much better at this than I was. And I feel really, really dedicated to relating in this way. And I notice that what that's taken has been working with fear. Because I think really what has moved me in the times of my life where I've exercised power over or just tried to get out of the way is I'm afraid that I might lose, and this is why I read this sentence, I'm afraid that I might lose my freedom and my identity if I take in from another person. Like that somehow it's a binary thing. Either I get my way, or if I listen to you, you're going to get your way and I'm going to suffer. And so if given choice between those, I'll either get out of the way or try and get my way. What a narrow way to live it is to be so afraid of being with other people. And I think that for me, it feels very tender to say it, is to say, sometimes it can feel very frightening being with other people because this is what we fear. And so I can't help but say, and I'm sure that Robert Mesley must write about this somewhere else in the book, that part of being able to do this is being able to generate enough of a sense of ourselves inside that we can rely upon, that we can trust, that allows us also to extend that trust to other people. Like if I can't find something solid enough in myself, but also flexible enough in myself, it's going to be very hard for me to do this, to trust that I can take you in, and trust that I can then find what's in me, and then trust that I can respond to both you and me with whatever comes to you and me. And trust that I'll be okay if I don't get my way, and trust I'll be okay if something new happens. It's like an enormous amount of trusting of things that we have to do. And I think that it's fear that makes it, I think fear makes it the hardest thing. Like if I fear I'm going to lose myself, why would I behave in this way with you? So what's exciting for me as much as anything else is there's an invitation here for all of us to do our own work here, to recognize that being in a really wonderful, what does he say, that it's our amazing capacity to be affected by the incredible richness that there is around us, that gift comes first with asking ourselves the question, how do I trust that I can keep in contact with the something that is myself, and keep in contact with the something that is yourself, and stay open to both of those as I go, without trying to protect myself by collapsing, forcing, or running.
That you started there, Justin. And from there, this next thought flows, which is the stature of the individual who can let another exist in her or his own creative freedom is larger than the size of the individual who insists that others must conform to their own purposes and understandings. And as you were talking, I was thinking, yeah, what is that? To have enough capacity or sense of my own identity to let you be you and me be me, and not only let you be you, but be really interested in you. Have enough sense of myself that I don't need you to come over here and be like me or be like the version of you that I think you should be, but to really actually let you be you. What does that mean, to just let someone be exactly who they are and feel our own sense of our own ground and spaciousness and our own creative freedom, that we can have a dance together, and you don't have to do what I think you should do, or you don't have to be what I think you should be. And this is also showing me, as we're talking, Justin, how easy it would be. I really resonated with the whole, like, one power I have is just to, at this opportunity where it gets difficult, just to run away, just to withdraw myself. I can't deal with that. So when he says, you could either shut someone out of your life, or you could engage in a way that's enriching for us all. That feels like a really big choice, because I know that definitely, and I think it's probably common in most people, there's a, right, okay, my shutters are coming down, I can't deal with this, I'm off. It's like, it's way better to be on my own on a walk than to be in this right now. So I'm just going to take myself off. And maybe I'm making this too complicated. Maybe I'm the thing that's wrong here. But to believe that there's a way that we could engage this relational power so that all of our lives could be enriched if we stay in the conversation, and if we are open to one another, and we are in our own, as you say, the invitation to do our own work, so that we can have our own sense of identity that allows everyone to be whoever they're being. And if we all were doing that, and we all had a chance to be ourselves and be appreciated for who we were being, because everyone around us was big enough or free enough or had a sense of themselves enough that could allow that and receive from that, what a different thing gets made than by me leaving. But in order for us to do that, it feels like we have to find some robustness in ourselves, because it also feels like a bit of a no man's land. It's okay, so I've options here. Do I run away, or do I engage? And do we see if we could be this for one another? But it's quite a big ask. I don't see that many people who feel this deep to me. This robust in the kind of container that they might be for someone else's process to unfold, whatever that might look like. And I was actually at a funeral, a memorial service the other day, and there was a woman there who basically began the ceremony with this beautiful drumming that she was doing as a kind of way to call us all in to the ceremonial beginning. And the way that she stood there with such gentleness on her face, and it was like she was playing the drums as an invitation rather than a demand to be quiet and sit down and listen. It was like a calling. It was a call to something that was resonant. And that felt like, for me, a very recent experience of what it means to be affected and to affect in a way that's not controlling, but that's invitational and resonant. Like, it's meaningful. It had magic in it. It was like, oh, we heard the drums, we know where to go. But it wasn't forcing us to sit down. It wasn't like you have to sit down or you have to leave. It was a gentle calling that we could respond to. And it felt attuned to us as well, as a group of people who were there for something very important. And so I think there are ways of being this presence. And that woman was an example for me. Like, oh, you're standing there without a demand, without any kind of means of wanting to control or any means to control or anything in you that wanted to control. But you keep beating the drum because it's the beginning of something that we're all here for, and it's an important thing. And so her stature, to me, was a very kind of shining example that's really clunked in with me. And I noticed her and thought, my goodness, that's someone who I could really benefit from sitting next to for a really long time, and see if I could receive the ground of her, receive the depth of her, receive the big boldness of her, that I might, in this continual learning curve of mine, deepen my capacity to have this ever expanding identity that really does honor you for being you and honor me for being me. And we don't have to be like one another. And that seems to me like one of the chambers of the heart of turning towards life, is in this practice of listening. This is really what we're doing as well, like a practice of being in a healthy relational power with one another. I'm impacted by what you say, and it shapes what I then say. And I'm also saying my place in it too.
I think that third part that Robert Mesley points to, Lizzie, where he says, we've got all kinds of power all the time, but relational power is this: being actively open and affected by the world, obviously including people, you, being able to then create ourselves out of what we've taken in. So allowing ourselves to be changed by what we encounter, and then being willing to influence who and what is around us from that encounter. It's so different to, imagine if we were having this conversation. I'm sure it's not hard to imagine. And I was desperately trying to get you to say the particular thing that I wanted you to say so I could look good or something. We wouldn't be in anything like this kind of conversation. or if I were just nodding away and not listening to you and waiting to say the thing that I have to say anyway, which is another thing that we often, one might do in conversations, just wait for your moment and say the thing, be unaffected by what happened. And it occurred to me whilst you were talking that if we don't find a way to do this, to let ourselves take in and be affected by who we're with and who's around us before we speak, then it's actually very difficult for us to have any real kind of power at all. Because if I just impose myself upon you, eventually, well, we wouldn't be doing this coming up to 9 years. You would have long gone. That's the first thing. Like, why would you stay in a conversation like this, like that? But also the thing I noticed, Lizzie, is that because I have been in my life very sensitive I've felt very quickly the feeling of being controlled by or imposed upon by other people when they've tried to exercise power over. In my way of protecting myself was to also avoid exercising any real influence over anyone else, or at least not, or at least trying to hide that I was doing that, because I don't want you to feel the thing that I feel when I'm being imposed upon. So I would give up a very real kind of power by agreeing with everybody all the time and going along with everybody's plans and basically just being agreeable, which is anyway another way of controlling what happens. It's another way of trying to be in control. It's like, I won't get challenged, I won't get disagreed with, it's a way of trying to get you to be a particular way with me if I'm agreeable. I've been thinking about it a lot reading this source, that, if you and I are in conversation and you say something to me about the way you see the world, one of the ways, completely legitimate ways for me to take you in and be affected, is to go, gosh, I've never seen it that way, Lizzie, and I have a different point of view. Here's my point of view, which I would never have done under that previous structure, because I was too worried that me doing that would then be imposing upon you, but is actually a kind of withholding. And the only way to bring myself to you in a way that opens possibilities for you and for me and for our relationship that weren't there before, is to do this thing of taking you in and taking me in and going, I wonder how I am affected by what you're saying, and then being as honest with myself and as honest with you as I can be about how I'm affected. Gosh, Lizzie, I see this a different way, and here's why, which might then change you as well, if you're open to it. And so your narrative of dancing together is really, that seems so appropriate, that if you're going to dance with another human being and not trample them or be trampled, you're going to make a move, and then you're going to sense into the move that they make in response to your move, and then you're going to move in response to their move, which is a response to your move, and on and on. Is this the only way to dance together? Dancing is a wonderful and powerful, dancing well, dancing reciprocally, dancing with care and joy and creativity with another person is perfect for this.
Where I'm going with this, Justin, is safety. Like, what kind of safety it makes between us when we do this for one another, for ourselves. Because if I feel like I'm going to arrive and you're going to listen to me, rather than try and turn me into something that you think I should be, the truth can be told. My truth can be told. Whereas if I feel like I'm going to arrive and you've got all these agendas of what I should say and who I should be when I get here, and the possibility of authenticity disappears. Because then, certainly in my sensitivities, I'm kind of looking to you to see what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And then I'm going to play in the tram lines. I'm going to stay where I should stay. I've got a very kind of sensitive social radar. So the more someone sets down the lines, in whatever ways they set down the lines, the more I can feel and see it. And actually, in this moment, just reflecting on the relationships where I feel like I can be most myself, those lines are not laid down. There's a kind of openness. There's very little of, oh, you can't mention this and you can't mention that. We just have to talk about this. There's an openness. There's a kind of a sense of mutuality and the kind of freedom of expression that we'd long for one another, because there's a desire to truly know who you are or who I am. I'm much more interested in knowing the truth of who each of us are than turning you into a version of you that I think you should be. Like, as I say, it's so obvious to me. Why wouldn't I be interested in who you are rather than who I think you should be? It's suddenly very obvious. But I know that there are places in the world that I move where I think, oh, I can't be that, and I can't do that, and I can't do this. And it feels too well, apparently there's relationship at stake. But then when I start thinking about it, it's like, well, what kind of relationship is at stake if I can't be myself? And do I really want that relationship? So if I can't turn up as fully as I am, my expression in the world, as feels comfortable and like me, why would I keep putting myself there? And really what's at stake is me not feeling safe just to be the version of myself that I am today on the 15th of July, 2026, which is probably going to be different in some ways than me next month or whatever. Because of course there's continual evolution. But I feel like the safer we can make it for one another and for ourselves. I mean, this isn't a relationship thing between person and person on some level. It's also being affected by ourselves. So my relationship with myself, can I really turn towards the parts of me that I have put my own tram lines down to say, nope, that's not welcome here. My angry parts must stay to the side, or my shameful parts should never show themselves again. Can I actually show this kind of safety and relational power in the context of my own development as well? So when something gets shown to me, I can actually put it in my hands, take it into conversation, be with it, rather than try and stuff it down because it's not welcome here. So I'm getting this sense that my welcome to myself is not of a different nature to the kind of welcome that I can be for you. And it starts here. It starts with me being able to welcome those parts of myself and also to be discerning about where feels it isn't it's a really big question I've been really asking myself recently. Where can I be myself? Where does this expression of humanness really belong? And how the sense of belonging is not separate from freedom of expression, actually.
Interesting. I was thinking whilst you were talking about, well, what is being oneself anyway? It's a rather a big and complex question to answer, because the myself that I am varies according to what I'm committed to in a particular moment, what I'm in the midst of, what I'm up to, where I am, how tired I am, all of those kind of things. So I think that for me, there are many, many different answers to that question. So that's just prompted a very, a rich inquiry. And I'm wondering about what it is to be, at the same time as hearing what you were saying, Lizzie, about the importance of finding those places where we feel like we can straightforwardly bring ourselves in this way. I'm also wondering about what it takes for us to remain open and affected by who and what we're around, even when that is less available, because it's not available everywhere. So a lot of the world, for example, at the moment, I've said this a lot over recent weeks, the cultural push to get afraid of one another and divide, and to go, well, Lizzie, I won't speak to you because you're whatever, because of your political views or your, whatever it is, we can't talk. I already know that I don't want anything to do with you. That those divides, which happen on the big political scale, but they might happen in our families, or they might happen in our organizations, or they are also changed by, if I feel that way, my capacity to go, well, I know this is going to be hard, and I know that you might have very strong judgments of me, and I know that there may be things that you say about me that I want to refute or disagree with. And instead of, because I'm afraid that I'll lose myself or I'm going to not like the experience, instead of clamming up and going, I'm not going to be affected by it, almost like the equivalent of having my fingers in my ears, what it takes then to be a person, you said this before about having enough sense of ourselves that even if we are in enormous disagreement, and even if you were to decide that I basically count as a non-person, can I still stay open and affected? And being affected doesn't mean saying yes. That's the thought that's been on my mind. You could read this as, well, Lizzie, I've got to be affected by you. That's what my relational power. And that means whatever you say, whatever you want, whatever goes, just have to absorb. And that's not what being affected, but affected is taking in and then bringing you inside me, in contact with me, and then seeing what genuine response arises, which might be, gosh, Lizzie, I've never seen it that way. Or it might be, Lizzie, when I hear you say it that way, I have a completely different point of view. And that's what's coming up now. And that's what I want to offer back to you. It has to be something so much more sophisticated than just agreement and agreeableness. I think it's more like respect, or like you said, or more like welcome. Like, can I welcome you and welcome the experience of hearing what you say and feeling what you say, and then welcome my own response and bring it to you in a way that has the capacity to influence you because I heard you and because I was affected by you, not because I'm just in reaction or pushing back or something. Now, I think it takes a lot of capacities. I think there's a lot of learning for most of us to do that. But I also feel very faithful, but it's well within our capacity as humans that we were made for this. We were made to do what Robert Leslie invites us to do.
Yeah, and it's as I was saying at the beginning, it feels like I'm just kind of coming full circle here. It also feels like there's a lot at stake. You know, the choice to step in and the choice to say, I've seen it completely differently, or, oh yes, now I'm changed. We have to step in order to get to that point. We have to step into the room. We have to be in the conversation and be in the relationship. So I think it also takes courage to be in this conversation with ourselves, to feel our own relational power as something that, you know, we have our guidelines here, Justin, about listening and just the practical stuff of what the shape is, so that this can be true of the way we interact with one another, what the practice is between us, so that, bless you, so that this could be manifest, this could be real between us. We have to find a way of this being enabled by the way we interact with one another. So the container that we make, the scene setting, the practicality of how we interact with one another, who's there, who's not there. It takes a lot of consciousness, I think, to be able to design things that enable this to be true. And that's what's coming to me as you're talking, is the holding this as something that's really, really important, and then letting that inform the way that we practice with one another, or the way that we design a conversation, or the way that or where we meet or how we meet is either supportive or not to this kind of thing being real in the world.
That is such a wonderful place to land for us to end, Lizzie, because of course, as you say, the form in which we have been conducting this conversation and the form that we have designed for our Turning Towards Life Live, and that you and I also know to do in lots of other places, is a form that is intended to allow us to be actively open, to be affected, to create ourselves out of what's happening, and then to be able to influence one another from there. And I just want to really emphasize this, because I think that increasingly I've been thinking that we too often, I don't know who we is, might just be me, but maybe it's sort of something in the world. We make things down to the individual person. Like, if you can't do this, Lizzie, it's because you haven't learned enough, or you're not skillful enough, or you're not brave enough, or something. But actually, we can go a long way to create conditions in which it's possible to be this, conditions which invite our being in relational power with one another. Like you say, by where and who and how, what the guidelines for engagement with one another are, and how fast the conversation is, and how long it goes on for. You know, I also think the fact that we need to finish, that we sort of say these are 30 minutes. Not every conversation needs, in fact, endless conversations that just go on and on and on. Like, sometimes, I was thinking earlier, I need to go for a walk and then come back, but not so I run away, but so I can be here with you.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I wonder if we think enough in the world about the design of conditions that will make it possible for each of us to be most fully this, and we rather leave it up to the individual person for it. What a great invitation to think about. So thank you. Thank you as always. As always, Lizzie, I'm left filled with discoveries from this conversation that I could not have anticipated. And I'm very excited by this final question. I want to thank you for being open with me and influencing me and being influenced by me and all of you who are with us, all of you who are listening, for being part of that conversation. You can write to us, hello@turningtowards.life. Also, just contact us on the website. You can support us with cups of coffee. You can come and meet us at Turning Towards Life Live, and you can be part of all of that. And in September, Lizzie, you and I are teaching 2 days of our Foundations of Coaching program as well. All the details are coming out in our email, and we'll put them in the show notes. That's another place to be in this kind of relationship with us. We always love learning with people. I love learning with you, Lizzie. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And we will see you again next week.
Thanks, everyone.